Jeremiah 29:11. When the future feels unclear, Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11. From the New International Version. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. This verse is familiar to many people. It is quoted often. It is shared widely. It is usually offered in moments when someone is struggling or when the future feels uncertain. But familiarity can sometimes cause us to miss the depth of what is being said. So before we decide what this verse means for us, we need to slow down, we need to step back, and we need to understand the moment in which these words were first spoken. Jeremiah was speaking to people who were living in exile. They were not living in comfort. They were not living in security. They were not living the lives they had planned for themselves. They had lost their homes. They had lost their independence. They had lost a sense of control over their future. They were living in a foreign land, under foreign rule, surrounded by reminders that life had not turned out the way they expected. Many of them felt forgotten. Some felt punished. Others wondered if God was still paying attention at all. And it is to these people, in this moment of waiting and loss, that God speaks these words. For I know the plans I have for you. Not, you know the plans. Not, you will understand the plans soon. But I know. That distinction matters, because when life becomes uncertain, when plans fall apart, when the future feels unclear, one of the most difficult things to accept is that we do not see the full picture. We see the present moment. We feel the weight of now. But God speaks from a place beyond the moment. When God says, I know the plans I have for you, He is not reacting to circumstances. He is not adjusting because something went wrong. He is declaring that even in exile, even in waiting, even in discomfort, purpose has not been lost. This does not mean the situation is easy. It does not mean the pain is imagined, and it does not mean the struggle is insignificant. It means that struggle is not the final word. God continues by saying, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. This phrase is often misunderstood. Prosper does not mean constant success. It does not mean wealth. It does not mean comfort without challenge. In this context, prosper means wholeness. It means restoration over time. It means stability that grows slowly, often quietly, often unseen at first. God is not promising the absence of difficulty. He is promising the absence of abandonment. There is an important difference. Hardship can exist without harm. Delay can exist without destruction. Waiting can exist without being forgotten. Sometimes the very season that feels like loss is actually shaping something deeper, and that shaping rarely feels good while it is happening. God then speaks of hope. Hope is not optimism. It is not pretending everything is fine. It is not ignoring reality. Biblical hope is confidence rooted beyond circumstances. Hope says that even when today is unclear, tomorrow still exists. Hope says that even when answers are missing, purpose is not. Hope does not deny pain. It looks beyond it. And finally, God speaks of a future. This is perhaps the most powerful part of the verse, because fear often tells us that the future is closed. Fear tells us that this moment defines everything that comes next. Fear whispers that what has been lost will never be restored. But God declares that there is still a future, not a borrowed future, not a temporary one, but a future shaped by intention. For the people in exile, this future did not arrive quickly. It took time, it required patience, it required trust without immediate reward. And that is often where this verse speaks most strongly to us today, because many of us are waiting for clarity, waiting for healing, waiting for stability, waiting for something to make sense. Jeremiah 29:11 does not promise that waiting will be short. It promises that waiting is not meaningless. It reminds us that silence does not mean absence, delay does not mean denial, and uncertainty does not mean abandonment. God's plans often unfold quietly, slowly, in ways we do not immediately recognize, and yet they unfold. If you are listening to this and feeling uncertain about what comes next, this verse speaks gently but firmly into that space. It does not rush you. It does not minimize your pain. It does not demand instant faith. It simply reminds you that the story is not finished, that the chapter you are in is not the conclusion, that even now, even here, even in waiting, purpose is still being written. Jeremiah 29:11 is not a promise of ease. It is a promise of direction. It is an assurance that the plans of God extend beyond the moment, beyond fear, beyond what we can currently see, and sometimes knowing that is enough. When the future feels unstable. A Christian reflection on purpose, uncertainty, and hope. Many people today feel like they are living in a constant state of uncertainty. The world feels faster than it used to, more complex, less predictable. Economic pressures rise and fall in ways that feel disconnected from personal effort. Technology advances at a pace that leaves many wondering whether their skills, jobs, or identities will still matter in a few years. Social tensions spill into the streets and onto screens, making it feel as though society itself is fractured. Trust in institutions erodes as stories of fraud, corruption, and manipulation surface again and again, and relationships, once a place of refuge, are increasingly strained by stress, misunderstanding, and exhaustion. In moments like this, it is natural to ask a quiet but persistent question. Is there any real direction to life anymore, or are we simply reacting to chaos? Across Christian tradition, one of the most enduring responses to that question is not a formula, not a political stance, and not a prediction of outcomes, but a conviction that meaning exists even when clarity does not. At the heart of that conviction is the belief that purpose is not destroyed by uncertainty. It is revealed through it. Purpose is not the same as comfort. One of the most misunderstood ideas in modern life is the assumption that purpose should feel comfortable. Many people, religious or not, carry an unspoken expectation that if something is meant to be, it should unfold smoothly. That clarity should accompany calling. That peace should mean the absence of struggle. But Christian understanding has never equated purpose with ease. Across centuries, believers have understood that purpose often unfolds through tension, not around it. That meaning is not revealed by avoiding difficulty, but by walking through it with integrity. This matters deeply today because modern instability tempts us to believe that uncertainty itself is a sign of failure. Hope is not optimism, it is endurance with meaning. Modern culture often confuses hope with optimism. Optimism says things will probably turn out fine. Hope says meaning exists, even if they don't. This distinction is crucial. Many people today feel exhausted by forced positivity. They are tired of being told everything will work out. They know that sometimes it doesn't. Christian hope does not deny that. It acknowledges loss. It accepts grief. It allows space for lament, but it refuses to surrender to despair. Hope, in Christian thought, is not rooted in outcomes. It is rooted in faithfulness over time. This kind of hope is particularly important in an age of rapid change. When AI reshapes industries overnight, hope is not pretending disruption won't happen. It is trusting that human worth is not measured solely by productivity. When protests divide communities, hope is not assuming agreement will come easily. It is believing that dignity and justice still matter even when progress is slow. When fraud erodes trust, hope is not naivete. It is the decision to remain honest in a dishonest world. Hope becomes an act of resistance, not loud, not performative, but steady. The future is not canceled by the present. One of the quiet fears many people carry today is that the future has somehow narrowed, that opportunities are fewer, that mistakes are permanent, that the world young people are inheriting is more fragile than the one before. This fear shows up in subtle ways. People delay commitments, avoid vulnerability, hesitate to trust. Relationships suffer because people are protecting themselves from imagined endings. Christian understanding challenges this fear without dismissing it. It acknowledges that seasons change, sometimes painfully, but it insists that the future is not erased by disruption. A future does not require predictability. It requires faithfulness. This reframes how individuals approach their lives. Work becomes about contribution rather than status. Relationships become about presence rather than perfection. Faith becomes about persistence rather than certainty. The future is no longer something to control. It becomes something to walk toward, step by step. Perhaps the most agreed-upon Christian understanding underlying reflections like this is simple but demanding. You are not required to see the whole path, only to walk faithfully where you are. This truth becomes increasingly relevant as modern life grows more complex. No one fully understands where AI will lead. No one can predict economic stability with certainty. No one can guarantee social harmony. But individuals can choose how they live today. They can choose honesty over convenience, compassion over contempt, patience over panic. They can choose to believe that purpose exists even when outcomes are unclear. A quiet conclusion. The Christian perspective on uncertainty does not promise ease, it promises meaning. It does not remove fear, it offers direction within it. It does not eliminate struggle, it redeems it. In a world shaped by inflation, technology, protest, deception, and relational strain, this perspective does not ask people to ignore reality. It asks them to live faithfully within it. And sometimes that is enough.